Hello everyone, welcome to the course in Trafficking in Cultural Property. It's great to have you here again, and I hope you will enjoy learning more about our topic. My name is Virág, I'm your course instructor and mentor, and this is our second lecture, which is about the illicit trade of antiquities. Before we jump into the second lecture's topic, I wanted to give you some help to refresh your memory about the first lecture. I will give you these questions at the beginning of every video, and so if you can answer them, you know that you are ready for the final quiz. So stop the video and try to answer these questions before we move on. So as you can see, today's topic is the illicit trade of antiquities and its consequences. This is our second lecture. Antiquities represent a firm base for our cultural identity and help to understand our place in history and the world in general. These tangible assets represent intangible ideas that are deeply embedded in our communities. This type of cultural property possesses not just cultural but economic value. And this mixed value is one of the many reasons why they are in danger of smuggling activities. In this lecture, we will explore the smuggling routes and each step along the way, all stakeholders in the smuggling chain, and at the end I would like to talk about how does it affect our world. Let's talk about the global market of antiquities first. Technical innovations have helped the antiquities market to grow and to reach a new scope. As communication devices, the international trade and the internet were developing, it became easier, faster and cheaper to deal with these antiquities legally or illegally. Around the 1990s, the antiquities market started to cause deep concern among archaeologists and other professionals, since the international conventions seemed to be powerless against the growing number of illegal excavations and transactions on the black market. And the commonly used term to describe the global market of antiquities became the grey market. This term helps to describe the mixed situation on the antiquities market, such as not the white, not black market, not licit, but not entirely illicit. The type of grey market consists of three pillars. First, law, ethics, or social norms don't provide definitive guidance for the stakeholders. Second, mix of licit and illicit chains of supply. Third one, change in the social and legal classification of the artifacts throughout multiple transactions. The only way to buy antiquities on the market completely legally is when the objects are part of old collections which were put together before current antiquities laws came to effect in the different countries. Smuggling, trafficking of antiquities is a criminal act. So how is it grey then? As we understand, the trafficking of antiquities is conducted as is shown on this figure on the left. After artifacts have been illegally excavated, they typically go through several different dealers, and most of the time they are getting smuggled out of the original country by criminals crossing the borders with them. Coins, smaller artifacts are easy to smuggle, especially if they are presented as tourist souvenirs. Larger or more significant objects travel with fake papers through different countries, which we call transit countries. So at the beginning of the chain, they are illegal, but at the end, the artifacts are washed and become legal to sell them. Fake papers are critically important because it is usually claimed that the objects are part of old family heritage and the owners would like to stay anonymous. And this is how dealers present the objects for auction houses, galleries, museums, investors. How shady or grey is the situation on the antiquities market is shown clearly by the fact that it is just basically impossible to get an estimation of the market size. What we know for sure is that the global market of art and antiquities is growing, although exact percentage of legal and illegal archaeological objects is not really known. Furthermore, we know that the looting activities are growing in conflict areas all around the world. UNESCO even urged a panel discussion in June 2020 about the depressive effect and the increasing number of illegal excavations during the pandemic lockdown. Smuggling of antiquities became an interest of criminology as well, mainly because it is related to money laundering, terrorism financing, and other organized crimes. The First Gulf War had a devastating effect on the archaeological sites and increased the illegal activities immensely. International organizations, museums, and the public itself have started to recognize the dark side of the antiquities market. According to some NGO estimations, 80% of antiquities sold online are looted or fake, and looted artifacts are coming from illegal excavations or looted museums, obviously. Today, criminologists and archaeologists, hand in hand, try to provide solutions against art crimes and the illicit trafficking of antiquities. The background mechanism of the antiquities market is better known each year. Nevertheless, as I mentioned, 2020 was an exceptionally challenging year for the antiquities market. So far, we know that illegal activities and the art supply have increased on the market since the outbreak of COVID-19. In the crisis times, authorities are busy with handling the emergency. Therefore, there is a high chance for illegal excavators, smugglers, dealers to conduct their shady activities without any consequences, basically. But how does it happen exactly? Let's talk about the different stakeholders in the trafficking chain. Looters, first of all. Looting is a well-organized crime conducted by criminals who are usually involved in other illegal businesses as well. The trafficking network of criminal activities is virtually identical whether it is Syria or Egypt, whether it is about drugs or antiquities. The cause of this crime is not solely poverty and that people want to earn some money by looting archaeological sites, but the looting of antiquities is related to criminal networks as a whole. By the way, looting ancient sites is an immensely dangerous activity. Egyptian police reported that hundreds of people died during recent years in the course of looting activity because of the unsafe working conditions and criminal activities among looters. In places like Syria or Iraq, the looting is systematic and it is controlled by mainly terrorist groups, and there is no doubt that violation is attached to these looted artifacts. The situation is very similar in Central and South America as well, sadly. Second of all, dealers. Looted antiquities are handled by several dealers. They are the weakest points of the illegal chain. Therefore, usually they are the target points of the police and other authorities. They maintain connections to the legal and illegal world as well. Dealers are responsible for washing the history of antiquities. They have a chance to generate the highest profit on selling the objects, but they bear the highest legal risk as well. Dealers are the last point in the illegal chain, and from this point, antiquities are washed, they receive new fake papers, and they can be handled further completely legally. Auction houses, galleries, museums, investors, they are the target points of dealers. Conducting due diligence, experts have the responsibility at these institutions to recognize the looted artifacts on the market. Now, the difficulty is that freshly looted artifacts, which come from illegal excavations, they have no track records, no catalog numbers, no documentation, no drawings, not anything. If they are cleaned and treated well, there is a very little chance of knowing if they are part of an old family collection or they were illegally excavated like a week ago. It all depends on how good is the dealer in faking the provenance papers. We will talk about investors and experts more in other lectures. But now I would like to also talk about the consequences of the grey market of antiquities and the smuggling of artifacts. I have to warn you, this is not a priority list. Illegal excavations destroy the scientific value of the artifacts and the original site itself, which causes irreversible damages in the process of investigating, analyzing, and learning more about the past in order to benefit the future. Cultural professionals tend to express strong emotional response to the thought of selling and buying artifacts on open markets. The most important aspect of an artifact is the context. You have to understand this. Archaeological excavations are destructive activities. Once something is excavated, it is destroyed. Excavations destroy the sequence of layers in the ground. Therefore, for archaeologists, the most valuable asset is the data of the context where the object is coming from. The soil around the golden statue is usually more important from the scientific point of view than the golden statue itself. Illegal excavations destroy the most valuable information about the past, and the trading of artifacts catalyzes this activity from the archaeological point of view. Second of all, supporting the illicit trade of antiquities violates the UNESCO 1970 Convention and many principles of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We will talk about these in another lecture. But what you have to know now is that illegal excavations, smuggling of artifacts, and the illegal trafficking of antiquities are against almost all countries' legal frameworks. It's a criminal activity. Third of all, antiquities are a great source of income for terrorist groups as well. The second largest income of ISIS originated from the illegal excavations in Iraq, Yemen, Afghanistan, and Syria. Archaeologists usually refer to these objects as bloody antiquities. ISIS and other terrorist groups have a well-established system and institutions for the trade of antiquities. It is a well-organized crime happening every day, and it is crucial to only sell artifacts in auction houses and galleries with well-proved provenance to stop terrorism financing through cultural property. And last but not least, and maybe this is one of the most important, this is the most important aspect, is that people die because of the illicit trade of antiquities. As I mentioned, blood antiquities. Locals and small criminals digging up the antiquities without proper equipment or tools in unstable digging holes which collapse above them. Smugglers risking their freedom, in some cases their lives, by smuggling the antiquities through the green borders. Dealers are shot and tortured as they are part of mafias, terrorism, and whatsoever. Even investors risk their lives sometimes by owning these artifacts. Simultaneously, all that was mentioned violates more than one basic human rights according to the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We just have to stop this. And summarizing it all, I think we can agree on it that it is immensely important to fight against the trafficking in cultural property. The fact that you are participating in this lecture series means that you took a very important step in this fight. So thank you for being here, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week.